in Nissedal. Nissedal.
Yeah.
I was going to say, do you know where that is? But you can see the text. Norway. They got in touch. Again, no name, but come on, guys, leave your name. I was once in a queue for the Lose at Hammersmith Odeon, in brackets, Kate Bush concert 10 years ago.
Right.
In front of me was Joe Elliott, a.k.a. Def Leppard. Yeah. And behind was Johnny Depp.
That's interesting.
Wow.
Who looks behind him in a toilet queue, though? Unless you've got wing mirrors, I don't know. Is that the sort of thing you do? Anyway, you'd notice Johnny if he was there.
What have you seen? What have you...
Well, no, we're into musicology time now, but thank you very much for all your texts.
Yeah.
Oh, this one, Simon says, evening, Tony. Some of you's back are queued up with Imran Khan getting onto a flight to Pakistan. Boarded the flight, he was next to me. Who'd have thought it? If you want to text us, 85058 or WhatsApp us 08085 909 693. Right, it's Tuesday, technically Wednesday now. It's time for one of the greatest hours of radio of the week. The musicologist is here. And we look at a different facet each week of what makes music great. Tonight, it's artists who we now recognise for their brilliance, but their breakthrough took time. Let's welcome our very own Dr. B, better known to students as Professor Joe Bennett from the Berklee College of Music in Boston. Joe, hello, official good evening. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Good to speak to you.
All right in your world?
2 feet of snow this week came down on New England. It was international news. I actually heard it on the BBC in the UK telling me about the weather where I live.
Yeah, we interviewed, we had a correspondent from New York last night on the show talking about something else completely different, and then told me she was under a 4-foot snowdrift. Or have been in Central Park.
I can't get out my driveway. Oscar, the guy with the snowplow, came and got rid of most of it, but I'm still stuck indoors for the next couple of days.
Well, we'll get through this musicology hour, then I'll let you go and watch the State of the Union address. But so let's get underway. It's the quiz first of all. So remind us of the theme, because that's pertinent to the quiz, Joe.
Right, absolutely. So this is artists that suddenly broke through after years and years of trying is our theme tonight. Because, you know, sometimes when an artist breaks through, they're suddenly everywhere and everyone thinks they came out of nowhere. But quite a lot of the time they've been plugging away, just looking for that key song that connects with the public imagination. And so we're going to be looking at some examples of that. As you say, Tony, the quiz is right there as part of our theme. So these are all huge hits. And in many cases, the artist had been plugging away for 10 years or more until this breakthrough song came through. Now, these are mega hits. I think everyone's going to know them. So I'm going to have to play them backwards with every apology to those listeners who hate that. But I'm going to give you a little bit of more information to help you zero in on it. So I'm going to give you the year of the breakthrough. But I think I'll also give you the year that artist started recording. And there are 6 questions. 1 point for the song, 1 point for the artist, so 12 points available in total.
Okay, all right. So, well, I think this is the best chance for listeners in months to go for it, Joe, because sometimes, I'm not saying it's easy, but it's been harder. Put it that way.
It leans easier than some of the more evil ones I've done in the past.
Okay.
So let's dive in. Question 1. This breakthrough hit came in 1967, though this artist had been recording for more than 10 years at that time. Name the artist, name the song. Number 1. For number 2, this was a hit in the early to mid-80s, and this artist had been recording actually as part of a band since 1980, but this is their solo hit. I think the keyboard sound gives that one away. I think it's very distinctive. So this is an interesting one. This is a hit from the 90s. It was everywhere that year. I was playing it in covers bands, I remember. And but their debut album actually came out in 1983. But the song is from the mid-90s. Name the artist, name the song.
Yes, come on.
Yeah, you're getting that one?
I think that should be
Fantastic.
3 out of 3 for people so far.
I'm not so sure.
Yeah, Ryan's looking a little
Yeah,
less
yeah,
confident. Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
None out of 3, I think, at the moment.
No, I've got 2. I think I've got 2.
Oh, that's all right. Okay.
Looking good, looking good. Okay, so for number 4, this was a breakthrough hit in 2008, although the band's debut had come out in 2003. For number 5, this artist made their debut in 2017, but this breakthrough song came through in 2023, but it was recorded some years earlier. And finally, number 6, this artist made their debut in 2014, but broke through with this single in 2024.
There we go. Right. So we want. What do we want? We want. What do we want? When do we want it? We want 6.
We want the song and we want the
songs,
artist.
6 artists.
6 questions, so 12 points available.
All right, and we will play that again later in the hour before you have to answer it. Feel free to have a go now if you think you've got them all, but we'll give you a reminder a little bit later on. Right, we're going to start the journey then, Joe. The tracks you've chosen, you're going to talk us through them and why they're important. It's artists who took time to break through. We're going to start with British singer-songwriter Nick Drake.
Betty came by on her way, said she had a word to say about things today and fallen leaves. Said she hadn't heard the news, hadn't had the time to choose way to lose, but she believes. Gonna see the riverman, gonna tell him all I can about the plan for lilac time. If he tells me all he knows about the way his river flows and all-night shows.
I am interested in this hour to learn a lot of biographical detail I wouldn't have ordinarily known, Joe. When I scan-read this a few minutes ago, I thought it was Nick Cave we were going to talk about. Nick Drake, I don't know much, if anything, about him at all. So that is Riverman by Nick Drake from 1969. He died more than 50 years ago, but he's still as popular as ever. So tell me about Nick Drake then, Joe.
Yeah, it's a remarkable but somewhat tragic story. But biographically, it was very interesting. He basically broke through in as much as anyone did in that sort of folk pop crossover that he was looking for in the late 60s. That track was from 1969, but he only sold about 4,000 albums in his lifetime. He took his own life aged 26 and suffered with mental health issues throughout his life. But that was from his first album, 5 Leaves Left. It's a curious thing, Nick Drake's music. It actually got its resurgence really in the 80s, and that's why I chose Nick Drake really for our idea of a breakthrough. He never really broke through at all in his lifetime. His management had told him he was going to be a star. He had that sort of star power. Everyone that met him said that, and he really believed in it. And yet he didn't get the commercial traction with his work for the 3 albums that came out in his lifetime. So just to that track, Riverman, which is perhaps his best known song, certainly in the modern era, a little bit of music theory. I'm just going to grab an acoustic guitar here. It's in 5/4 time, and 5/4 is one of the more unusual time signatures. So there's 5 beats to the bar. 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you've got this very weird sort of C add 9 riff, which is something like this. See if I can play it. And there's a chord loop. And then a G. And it does this thing of going between this major add 9 and this sort of minor add 9. So lots of lovely sort of spooky guitar chords. But when we have songs in 5/4, it's normally a 2 and a 3 is the way you count it, or in this case a 3 and a 2. So it's da 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 da. And 5/4 it's really difficult to dance to, and it gives you this sort of otherworldly spaciness feeling, I guess is the best way I might describe it. With these unusual guitar chords. But the lyric is sort of typically esoteric for Nick Drake. That section we heard there, quote, Betty came by on her way, said she had a word to say about things today and fallen leaves. Said she hadn't heard the news, hadn't had the time to choose a way to lose, but she believes. Gonna see the Riverman, gonna tell him all I can about the plan for lilac time. So, you know, people go to academic conferences interpreting Nick Drake lyrics to this day, and it's sort of deliberately oblique. Who is the Riverman? What wisdom does he hold? Who is Betty? Literature scholars have speculated that it's the Betty from Wordsworth's The Idiot Boy, which is a poem that Nick Drake had studied when he was an undergraduate at Cambridge. So there's so much interesting influence about Nick Drake's work, and a whole bunch of people in the 80s came forward and talked about what an influence he'd been.
So just before we move on then, why the resurgence then? Why after his death did he suddenly start to have the success?
I think it was through the people in the 80s. I mean, people like Kate Bush, Robert Smith, Paul Weller, all cited him as an influence. And then biographies and documentaries increased critical recognition of his work. For a while in the 70s, the albums were just really hard to get because there weren't very many of the vinyl pressed. So it took a while. You know, we now take it for granted, don't we, that all music is available on your streaming platform of choice whenever you want it. Well, that wasn't really the case in the 70s and 80s. And if albums were obscure, they were obscure. I mean, as ever with commerce, in 1999 there was a Volkswagen ad featuring his famous song Pink Moon, which dramatically boosted US sales and introduced his music to new audiences, particularly in the States.
So that is Nick Drake, who kicks us off tonight. Again, this is what I love about it, an introduction to someone I'd never really heard of before. This next band, there's nobody alive. Well, apart from a few toddlers who've never heard of them. And I thought, I've seen them live. I've read enough biographies and autobiographies from the band as well. But I wasn't aware of much about their journey before they really hit the big time. So we'll start off, we'll play a bit of music and then you can take us through it, Joe. So here we go. We now move on to Fleetwood Mac. And from 1975, Say You Love Me. Fleetwood Mac, Say You Love Me from 1975. Subsequently, 120 million records sold worldwide. So they found just about every year available. But they had to work hard for that then, Joe. What's their early story?
Right. Well, believe it or not, that came from their 10th album, eponymously titled. So Fleetwood Mac was the name of the album, came out in 1975, as you say. But their first album, which was also called Fleetwood Mac, came out in the 60s. As a lot of people will know, Fleetwood Mac were originally a blues band led by a guitarist, Peter Green, and the Fleetwood Mac of the name was the drummer Mick Fleetwood and the bassist John McVie, Fleetwood Mac, and those two are the only consistent members of Fleetwood Mac throughout the years. But most fans would say, I think, that there are really two Fleetwood Macs. There's the 60s blues band, and then there's the 70s, what we might call accessible pop rock band, which had, so that album, 1975, Fleetwood Mac, was really the breakthrough. And I chose that song. It's not even the best known song on the album. So I suppose Rhiannon would be, Rhiannon or Landslide, both sung by Stevie Nicks, would be the two better known ones. But that was a single, and it's what Christine McVie does really well. It's sort of cheerful, major key, feel good, soft rock. It's actually got a banjo in it. I don't know if you heard that twanging away in the background, although it's very much it's very much a piano-led song. But to the earlier Fleetwood Mac, I've actually going to play you a little bit of it. Their singles, number one single in 1968 in the blues incarnation, was a track that a lot of people will know, instrumental, called Albatross. This is a bit of that. Wonderful track for late night radio, isn't it? Very, very mellow.
Most of my listeners are asleep already, Joe. We don't need to give them a hand.
It's a great riff. I mean, a lot of the stuff on that album is a bit more bluesy and rocky, but it's a really unusual track, Albatross. It's just this one riff. Let's see if I can grab a guitar here. So that's the sort of main hook, and then this answering phrase. And it's really just those themes. It just goes between two chords, E and F sharp minor, all the way through, with that wonderful sort of shimmering malleted cymbal over the top. But yeah, Fleetwood Mac, as we sort of know them today, giants of soft rock, soft acoustic rock from the 70s. 1975 really marked the beginning of that era. Christine McVie had joined them in 1970, but the sort of modern incarnation really began in 74 when Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham joined, and that was the lineup most people know, I think.
And that was that. So I was going to ask if that was an oversimplification to say that, but not obviously then. And so it was Buckingham and Nicks who just took them to another level.
Well, they brought a sort of what we might say a sort of West Coast sound. It was very radio friendly, and I think with pop music scholarship, it always interests me of like, what's the audience doing? So, you know, in the music industry, we used to talk about £50 man, you know, the guy who would go and buy 50 quid's worth of CDs back in the 90s, and the music industry loved those people. And we often think of pop music as being aimed at younger people, but of course, generally speaking, older people have a little more money. So if you do the maths on the growing up, you can imagine that a teenager in the late 50s, early 60s, buying Beatles single, when they mature, they're in their 30s, maybe they've got a few more quid to spend on music, their tastes grow up, they become a bit more comfortable, and, you know, there's Fleetwood Mac for them.
I had in the back of my head that Rumours was the greatest, or if not in the top 2 or 3 greatest selling albums of all time. Rumours, Fleetwood Mac from 1977. I've looked it up. They are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're the 8th greatest selling album of all time, Joe. Not right up there. 30 million.
Certainly, yeah. I'm pretty sure it broke every record in '77 as the best-selling album in most territories.
Well, beaten by Shania Twain, Two Lots of Eagles, Pink Floyd, Whitney Houston. Theme tune to The Bodyguard soundtracks. Number 3, the best-selling album of all time. Number 2 is AC/DC, and number 1 is Thriller, Michael Jackson. Just out of interest, right? Let's move on. So we're on a journey through. Undiscovered singers, really. This is their breakthrough moment after years of trying. Some early adopters may have already had them, but not necessarily everyone. Let's move on now to US singer-songwriter Bonnie Raitt.
I see my folks are getting on, and I watch their bodies change. I know they see the same in me, and it makes us both feel strange. No matter how you tell yourself, it's what we all go through. Those lines are pretty hard to take when they're staring back at you. Scared to run out of time. When did the choices get so hard? With so much more at stake, life gets mighty precious when there's less of it to waste. Scared to run out of time. Just when I thought I had enough, and all my tears were shed, no promise left unbroken.
Bonnie Raitt there from 1989. So talk us through this one, Joe.
Oh yes, Bonnie Raitt, hardest working woman in showbiz in the 70s and 80s. So she was, that record, as you say, was from 1989. She'd been recording since 1971, and she had a heck of a time with record companies. So she got her debut album, Bonnie Raitt, signed with Warner Brothers in '71, and it was well received critically, but it didn't really capture the public imagination, didn't get a huge amount of radio airplay. People just didn't fall in love with it. So as record labels are wont to do, because they are capitalist profit-making entities, they've got to keep the lights on, they actually dropped her in '83 after the poor commercial performance of her albums The Glow and Green Light in 1982. And the decision, sadly, to drop her from a record contract came the day after she'd finished recording her next album. And because of the way record contracts work, what essentially a record deal is the record company gives you a ton of cash, and in return for it, they are buying your future recordings that you're going to make. That's the deal that a record deal is. So she had this album that the record company owned. The working title was Tongue in Groove, and then it was later retitled 9 Lives. So Warner Brothers had the contractual option to be able to distribute this album, even though they dropped her and she'd had to dissolve her backing band because she couldn't afford to pay them. So this is, takes us to '86, and she's legally obligated to promote the album and split the profits from a label where she no longer had a deal. Anyway, long story short, Prince offered her a deal, then she had a skiing accident and she couldn't take up that deal. And then eventually in '88, she signed a recording contract with Capitol Records. And that track, the title track from the album, Nick of Time, came out. It's a terrific lyric. We're all listening for those 80s keyboard sound and a wonderful vocal. But it's a song about aging. On the section we were listening to there, we faded in on verse 2. Quote, I see my folks are getting on, and I watch their bodies change. I know they see the same in me, and it makes us both feel strange. No matter how you tell yourself, it's what we all go through. Those lines are pretty hard to take when they're staring back at you. And the hook, such as it is, I love the songwriting quirk here, that the hook, she's scared to run out of time, that's the chorus, such as it is. And the characters in the story are scared to run out of time. They're seeing their life ebbing away. And then the payoff in verse 3, just when I thought I'd had enough and all my tears were shed, no promise left unbroken, there were no painful words unsaid, you came along, etc. You know, the one, she falls in love and everything's all right again. So it's a love song, but with a sort of a delayed kick. And that chorus, the final chorus, I found love in the nick of time, only appears at the end of the song as the big reveal.
It's usually subjective, isn't it, music? Because you say Warner Brothers drop her, then Prince wants her, and then Capitol Records want her. And I suppose that if we take one lesson from all this, it's perseverance.
Well, you really have to, yeah. And, you know, artists at that time, you know, in the pre-internet era, they were treading the boards, you know, they learned their chops on the road. We're going to look at some more recent artists later in the show who, you know, came up through the internet route, which is more common these days. But yeah, how demoralizing must that have been? And in fact, just to give you an idea, because that track was 89, let's go to some real prehistoric Bonnie Raitt. This is Thank You. Just 30 seconds of this from 1971. It's absolutely lovely.
Sitting here thinking, baby, about you. I'm wondering how I ever got through my life without you. Days passed me by, left my life somewhere behind. Games I was trying, left me old before my time.
So you can really hear the voice is a whole lot younger there, can't you?
Yeah, so I'm just looking Bonnie Raitt. She's 76 now, still going.
Oh yeah, still
Bonnie
out there,
Raitt.
still recording, still gigging. And we didn't hear it on that track, but a wonderful slide guitar player, just extraordinary.
Just as an aside, it's really interesting. This is the earliest we've had so many entries for the quizzing, Joe. I did say because you put so many bangers in there. I lost a listener last night because I said banger. But anyway, you put so many in there. I think a lot of people have gone for it tonight. We're going to remind everyone of the quiz later, but loads of people have entered so far. And Ryan, a bit of feedback as well for Joe. What did you think?
Martin in Shropshire's got in touch. I wonder if Joe will include Stephen Wilson / Porcupine Tree. I, along with so many other newcomers to their music, have only just discovered him / them 30 years since he launched his career, and that's from Martin. Secondly, we've got Andy in Cardiff getting in touch. Hi, Tony. Nick Drake featured in just about every record collection in the late 60s. All my friends were big fans. He was very much part of the folk scene along with Fairport Convention. Jethro Tull, John Martin, thanks for the reminder of a wonderful age. And that's Andy in Cardiff.
Well, I'll be exploring Nick Drake. Another entry comes in for the quiz. I think, Joe, have you set the bar too low this week?
Goodness me, but maybe there's a lesson for me there.
Well, Joe, I've got a few answers here. So
if he's got it, yeah. the bar's underfoot. Let's move on now to soul and funk singer Sharon Jones. Sharon Jones there, How Long Do I Have to Wait For You? Arguably, that could be aimed at record buyers. So that was 2005, and she was born in 56, Joe. So she was really putting some hard work.
Indeed, yeah. So she worked a lifetime. Her commercial success came to the towards the later part of her life. And, I wonder, you just stated there, Tony, correctly, that it's from 2005. I wonder how many listeners who maybe didn't know that record thought, that's the sound of 2005. It's like a soul funk record from the 70s or, maybe even the late 60s. It feels like it comes from another age. So Jones comes from the gospel tradition, as so many sort of soul and R&B singers do, a gospel singer in church. And in the early 70s, she entered talent shows backed by local funk bands. But she spent many years trying to get a record contract and not being successful. And during that time, she worked as a corrections officer at Rikers Island and as an armoured car guard for Wells Fargo, the finance company. And she received her career break in 1996, aged 40. When she appeared as on a session backing the soul and funk legend Lee Fields. And various producers saw her and were really impressed with what she did. So that act was Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings that she went out of. That track, How Long Do I Have to Wait For You, came from their second album, Naturally. So by my arithmetic, I think she was 48 when she recorded that. And she sadly passed away in 2016, but she did, live long enough to get the success as a singer that she had been looking for most of her career.
I love the sound of that track. We're going to move on because I'm conscious. I look at the time already. It's flying by. Hello, by the way, to Mark Javier in Spain, who says, hi, Tony and Ryan. This music section, I've never heard it before, but I'm going to make sure I tune in every Tuesday in future. So we've got one new listener there. That's great. We're now going to move on to Little Simz and Woman.
Niger women got the melanin dripping, L-O-N-D-O-N, city girl living in the back looking like fire chili pepper, Yoruba girl tougher than imperial leather. He was getting bitter while she was getting better, diamonds are forever. Miss Sierra Leone looking like a gem, works hard in the week, party on the weekend. Know you wanna live with no one watching how you spend, got a thing for the finer things and the finer men. Miss Tanzania, she a do or die, says she wanna know more about the Sukuma tribe. We hit the zoo, once wasn't enough, got an ocean full of knowledge, you could scuba dive. Miss Ethiopia can play so jazzy, they sit you down to school, you want Selassie. Tell them you're nothing without a woman, no. Woman to woman, I just wanna see you glow. Tell them what's up.
So, yeah, you can tell us a story, but there's something counterintuitive about this because Little Simz won Best New Artist at the 2022 Brit Awards. I have a feeling she's been around longer than that then, Joe.
Oh, right, yeah. So the 2022 Brit Award, richly deserved, a huge talent in British rap. It took, I think the first studio album was 2015, A Curious Tale of Trials and Persons. She had 3 albums, but Grey Area was the album that was shortlisted for the Mercury Prize. But the 4th album from which that song Woman appears is called Sometimes I Might Be Introvert, which I actually learned through my research is a backronym. You know, when you reverse engineer an acronym for SIMBI, S-I-M-B-I, Sometimes I Might Be Introvert, which is part of Simz's full first name, Simbiatu. So the song itself, Woman, it's a sort of a feminist anthem, one black woman to another black woman, you're great, you're empowered, and that we heard the the rapped section, Tell 'em you're nothing without a woman, woman to woman, I just want to see you glow. And then we get the sung chorus by the guest vocalist Cleo Sol. I love how you go from 0 to 100 and leave the dust behind. You've got this. All action, no talk. So it's fantastic track, great groove. That album actually appeared in Rolling Stone's 200 greatest hip hop albums of all time.
Yeah, I mean, that's some achievement, isn't it?
Absolutely. Richly deserved.
Right.
She's also a great actress as well. Seen a few things, yeah.
Have you?
Yeah, yeah.
Like what? What's she been in?
She was in. I'm just doing a bit of. I thought I'd recognise her. She was in Venom, apparently, but I knew her from Top Boy. Yeah, which is on Netflix.
They're a very talented person, then, obviously. Right. So the final track on this week's journey is somebody we will have all heard of, even myself. Because I've read the news about her on occasions, but I want to know a backstory. So in 2024, we had Brat's Summer with fashion and lifestyles inspired by Brat, the album from Charli XCX. And from that album, this is Apple. Charli XCX, you can tell the story, Joe, but I see here, so that was from 2024. Charli XCX began posting songs on MySpace in 2008. So that is a fair wait, isn't it?
Yeah, and for people out there who are thinking she's a young whippersnapper, she's 33 now. Yeah, so she's been doing this stuff a long time. But she was perhaps the first, MySpace really dates it, doesn't it? She was the first sort of group to come out of that self-made internet artist phenomenon. Didn't necessarily need to come up through the gigging route, as we were talking about earlier. So that song, Apple, was from 2024. Was it her breakthrough? Well, she was kind of known as a songwriter for other people, and she'd had a few hits of her own. Apple itself, terrific song. It's a really interesting lyric theme. The apple in the central metaphor is about family characteristics and intergenerational connections. So it's an exploration of a relationship with her parents and family. The section we heard there, I guess the apple don't fall far from the tree because I've been looking at you so long now I only see me. I want to throw the apple into the sky. Feels like you never understand me, so I just want to drive to the airport, the airport, the airport, the airport. But for anyone who might think, I don't really know much Charli XCX. I suspect most people know more Charli XCX songs than they think they do. So I've queued one up. This is one of her early singles that didn't do so well. This is Stay Away from 2011. Here's a bit of that.
You choke my throat with words of wonder. You make it hard to breathe. Your love so cold.
But I think for most people that she came to public attention through being a guest vocalist on the Swedish duo Icona Pop. They had a song in 2013 that I bet everyone knows because it's been in loads of things, including like ads and movies and so on. A song from 2013 called I Don't Care. Here's a bit of that.
I crashed my car into the bridge. I don't care.
Even I know this. What year is this from, Joe?
So I Don't Care is from 2013.
Okay.
And she's written tons of songs for and with other people. Iggy Azalea's Beg For It, Selena Gomez's Same Old Love. She even did a specialist single for Blondie, a song called Tonight that got a limited release. She wrote Senorita for the Shawn Mendes and Camila Cabello collaboration and the Sigala and Rita Ora collaboration, You For Me. So she's a very, very fine mainstream pop songwriter. And as we know, 2024, I'm sure it was all over your TikTok, Tony. It was a brat summer.
Oh, absolutely. I made the most of it.
What did you do for that?
I don't know what I dug my daughter's old brat dolls out and stared at them. What does it mean? What did it mean, brat summer? What were we supposed to do?
Well, it was like Joe will probably know a bit better, but wasn't it like the
party vibe?
It was the party vibe. It was like the messy hairstyle, festival going, middle finger up to society type thing. Yeah, that's what it was.
Wonder where you're going with that one.
Yeah.
Okay, right, we get that. Right, Joe, thank you for that. Have we time to recap the quiz before we do the Soundslike, Joe? Or
Yes, we really do. We really do. I'm
good.
Going to rattle through these because I think you're right, Tony and Ryan. I think a lot of people are going to get these. These are all. Are we not allowed to say bangers on the radio?
No, a listener deserted. He said, "You've just said banger. I'm off." Last night.
Oh.
Well, what else can you say? Great tune or vibe or?
Okay.
I think more will leave if you say vibe. To be honest,
I don't know.
Let's go with a neutral term. Very well-known songs. Here are some very well-known songs. Yes. So from 1967, this artist started recording in the mid-1950s. Name the song, name the artist. Number one. Number two is from the mid-80s. This artist made their debut in 1980 as the lead singer of a band. For number three, this song was everywhere in 1995, and yet the band had their debut in April 1983.
Come on, everybody. Come on.
For number four, everyone loved this song in 2008, but fewer people had the 2003 debut EP. This, for number five, this empowerment anthem was released in 2023. It was a re-release, actually, because it wasn't as successful the first time, but the artist debuted in 2017. And finally, number six, this song was everywhere in the summer of 2024, and the artists made their first recordings 10 years earlier.
Well, there we go. Part of the brat summer, if I'm not mistaken.
It really was.
Let's see if you can get that. You've got about 5 minutes to try and sort that out. We've had loads of correct answers already, but do feel if you feel free to have a go. 85058 or WhatsApp 08085 909 693. Now, new listeners to this section, I include Mark Javier from Spain in that. May not know that when he's not lecturing at Berklee College of Music in Boston, Joe often acts as an expert witness in cases where artists claim their work's been copied. So each week we have a look at that, where he does a Soundslike feature, and they're often suggested by listeners. What are we delving into this week, Joe?
So this is the wonderful 2025 album by Olivia Dean. If people haven't heard it yet, it's definitely worth checking out. She has this lovely song, this sort of reflective song on it called I've Seen It. And you're listening out for the chord progression and the last two notes of the melody. So I'm just going to play it without comment and see if it reminds anyone of anything.
I've seen it last for 30 years, seen it bloom and end in tears. I've seen it after school and in the park, sat right across me on the tube, seen it miss a stop or two, seen it trying not to fall apart. I've heard it laced in every song, and still the words all come out wrong. It doesn't always answer when you call.
Well, I like it, but I'm not getting anything. No, nothing's coming through.
It's subtle. It's the chord progression. So you've got this chord progression, which I think we're in G, and then the minor, and for me, the melodic clue is that rising major sixth. And this is subjective. Not everyone's going to agree with me, but for me, if we just put ourselves into a different key, let's put ourselves into A. Reset our brains into that key and take a listen to this 1960s track.
There are places I remember all my life, though some have changed, some forever, not for better. Some have gone and some remain.
Beautiful piece of work.
It's a lovely piece, isn't it? In My Life by the Beatles. But if we just take those chord progressions and we put them in the same key, so here's In My Life in A. And here's a little bit of I've Seen It transposed up into A.
I've seen it last for 30 years.
So with the exception of one major chord that they don't have in common, they're basically the same chord progression. So this is a very gentle mashup. I don't want to be disrespectful to either song and mash it up too much, but I'm just going to give you the verse. Here's a simple mashup of about 30 seconds that is just one song on the right and one song on the left, and inevitably it has to be called I've Seen It in My Life.
There are places
I've seen it last for 30 years, seen it bloom and end in tears. I've seen it after school and in the park, sat right across me on the tube, seen it miss a stop or two, seen it trying not to fall apart.
I hope it's not just me that's feeling that.
No, well, is there any official acknowledgement going on there then, or is that you can't copyright a chord progression?
It's really hard to copyright a chord progression. The chord progressions are not the same. It's as my students might say, it's just a similar vibe. So and it's a 1, 5, 6, 4 minor 4 chord progression, which is not that uncommon, but just because they're similar tempo and have similar harmonic rhythm, and they end with that doo 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 at the end that they share melodically. So it's nothing to get anyone concerned about, but I think it's an interesting allusion, just a gentle overlap between two songs more than 50 years apart.
Mind you, the Beatles ran the whole gamut. It must be hard to write a tune that's not got some link to something they put together over the years.
They so wrote the book on songwriting.
Yeah. Right, we've time for we've got 3 minutes, Joe, to get through the quiz answers. Is that going to be okay?
I think so. Let's just rock up straight to the answers.
Okay.
So let's go to our list here. I've got the answers here. And so our first song, the artist in question, their first single was in 1956, Never Grow Old and You Grow Closer, but they became better known in 1967 when Aretha Franklin released Respect. And number 2, the song from 1983 was, of course, Girls Just Want to Have Fun, the artist Cyndi Lauper.
But girls, they wanna have fun. Oh, girls just wanna have. That's all they really want.
The breakthrough band in the mid-90s in 1995 was Pulp and their song Common People.
Sing along with the common people. Sing along and it might just get you through. Laugh along with the common people.
Number 4 was from 2008, the artist Kings of Leon, the song Use Somebody. The re-release was by Chapel Roan. It came out eventually in 2023 when it was a hit, the song Pink Pony Club.
Pink Pony Club, I'm gonna keep on dancing at the Pink Pony Club. I'm gonna keep on dancing.
And that song that came out in 2024, the single was from her 6th album. She was Sabrina Carpenter, the song Espresso.
Think about me every night. Oh, is it that sweet I kiss so? So you can sleep.
So I've got
Well.
high hopes for some high scorers tonight.
Ryan, go on, rattle through. Who's
Yes,
done it?
well done. Catherine in Cornwall, full marks. We've got Nigel from Bath, full marks. Again, we've got Mel in Glasgow, well done, full marks. Who else have we got here? Just quickly, Neil in Chester, well done. You have also got 12 out of 12. Is it 12 out of 12? I believe. Yes, it is. Honourable mention to who we got Michael near Heathrow. Honourable mention also to Morgan Vanessa and Simon as well. Just couldn't quite get over the line, but lots of full marks this week. Yeah.
Well done, everyone who's taken part. Joe, it could be your breakthrough show, this. Certainly in Spain, Mark Javier has tuned in for the first time and says he's coming back. Thanks, mate. Been
Yeah.
brilliant.
Thanks a lot.
to speak
See
to
you guys
Top
next
work,
week.
Joe.
See you
Nice
next time. Quick hello to Panabo in the Philippines who's texted in. That's a new one for us. And Johnny and Lou in from Suffolk, who are in Sri Lanka at the moment, staying in the same team, same hotel as the England T20 cricket team. Or the Sri Lanka team, I'm not sure which one it is, but hello to Johnny and Lou. Right, thanks everyone. Thanks for being with us. Ryan, thank you. I'm back tomorrow night. Love you all. Catherine Stancheshin up next.